What if you could learn from physical product entrepreneurs that have risen up from the trenches to dominating their market by creating successful physical product brands? Well, this podcast is hosted by me, Kunle Campbell, and it's about breaking the mold to becoming a smarter, savvier, and better product entrepreneur. You discover how to take physical products from concept through launch and to scaling up from physical product entrepreneurs who've taken their revolutionary ideas to 1 million, 10 million, and 50 million plus in revenue businesses. You'll also join me on my journey to build $1 million physical product brand business in a year, where we both will learn about crowdfunding, selling to retail chains, launching through marketplaces like Amazon, strategic partnerships, publicity, celebrity endorsements, and selling direct to consumers. So if you're creating or building a brand in the consumer packaged goods space, in fashion and apparel, business products, or any physical product niche, listen in because we have you covered. Join the fast track to physical product business success. This is the Physical Product Business Podcast. I'm Kunle Campbell. Let's get rolling.
Hi guys, Kunle Campbell here. Physical Product Business Podcast, part of the 2X e-commerce podcast. And welcome to today's show. I'm super excited. I'm really excited with our guest today because he is working with a celebrity on a physical product. So he's getting a celebrity endorsement, actually a celebrity branded product, to the market. It's none other than Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman is not my guest, but he's doing Dennis Rodman's Vodka, which is badass vodka, I believe. I'll introduce him so he can tell you more. His name is Andreas. Andreas, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. Okay, so Andreas, you're doing a super exciting thing. You're working on Dennis Rodman's badass vodka brand. Could you take a minute or so to introduce yourself and give us a bit of an evolution of how you got here?
Yeah, sure. My background really is in real estate. I'm a real estate developer. I've done a couple of projects, condo projects, and small communities, especially in the Caribbean. And I also work with large European investors that are putting their money here in the U.S. And through that, I got to know a number of high net worth individuals, and a number of them happen to be athletes and celebrities or whatever you want to call them. And Dennis became, both Dennis and his agent became good friends of mine. And one day we were just talking, we were in Vegas at some event, and I was talking about Dennis's alcohol rights, was anybody doing anything? And I figured it was an opening. It was halfway, as a joke and halfway serious, and we ended up talking through the night, and we came up with this idea to create a vodka brand, and that what it basically came out to be, Rodman's Badass Vodka, and here we are 3 years later.
That is interesting. It's just 3 years old. We have a few shared connections on LinkedIn, and they all happen to be in real estate, because one of my first jobs was in international property. I don't know whether you know anybody by the name of Ray Withers.
Yeah, I've heard the name. I think I've even met him. Property
Frontiers.
That's it. Yeah.
I worked in this company for a bit, so yeah. So they did a few things in the Caribbean, in Grenada, to be precise.
I remember. Yeah, they had a project there. Him and his partner Damien, something, right? David, right?
David. Yeah. Interesting. Small world. Small world.
Very. I remember meeting those guys. It's probably 7-8 years ago now.
About 2008.
I remember those guys.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. So you're giving us the evolution of your business background. You're a real estate guy, high net worth connections. You met Dennis Rodman. How did you come up with the ideas? Where did you get the idea? Why vodka? Why drinks?
Well, I think we'll probably go deeper into this later, but I think with any celebrity branded product, you got to have the right fit, right? And I knew Rodman, even though he's been out of the league for 15 years by now, he's still very relevant. The news loves him, TMZ loves him, Twitter, Facebook loves him. So I figured if I could find a good product that fit with Dennis, we could really do something out of all this notoriety and press that he was still getting. So I started looking at, what really works with Dennis. I mean, what is he synonymous with? And nothing was better than partying. And, we didn't want to do a nightclub. Dennis tried that before here in California. I used to have a nightclub, and it's a different kind of business. So we thought, hey, how about some kind of spirits brand? So we looked at, where were the opportunities, and vodka was kind of the standout because it's a product that, compared to whiskey and beer and all the other ones, it has a relatively low barrier of entry. Like if you want to go into liquor, vodka is probably the easiest one.
Yeah.
Plus at the time, and still is today, like it's probably the fastest growing category in the U.S. So that's why we said, okay, let's do a vodka and let's make it all about Dennis. Let's take the logo, a tattoo that's on Dennis's chest. Let's make that the logo. The inscription at the back. Let's have Dennis write that himself. All about how you always should love your character and be who you want to be. I mean, everything that is Rodman.
Yeah.
And then we put a lot of work into the product because we figured we got to make the product great. You can't just slap somebody's name on a bottle, and if the product's no good, you're still not going to take off.
Yeah. I'm just on the website now, and it feels so Dennis. It feels so Dennis Rodman. Like the look, the feel, and the statements you make. There's one thing everybody should understand. I like my character. There's another one on here, which there's another quote on here. Dennis Rodman, the original badass premium vodka. It comes across as very authentic, and it aligns very much with his character. But where did you kind of like drill down to? What are your other options before you decided to settle on spirits and vodka? Did you have any other, kind of like products in mind before finally settling down to this product?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at a number of other spirits, first of all. I mean, we looked at tequila, which we can do, but it's a little bit of a different process of creating that product, so we didn't do that. We looked at cigars, which is something that we're likely to come out with in the future, because Dennis is a big cigar smoker, and now that things have just changed here in the U.S. and we can trade with Cuba freely, that's where you get the best cigars. We looked at that. And I mean, Dennis has had a number of different products in the market in the past. It's just we wanted to do something that really was Dennis Rodman. And Dennis's drink is cranberry juice and vodka. That's what he used to drink, or vodka soda, whatever. So we figured why make it more difficult? Because it's exactly what you said. Pretty much sums it up. It's got to be authentic, because otherwise people aren't gonna. I mean, if we were making like a chocolate milk or something, people probably wouldn't buy it because there is no authenticity there, right?
Okay.
But with the vodka, people could see, I can understand why Dennis is behind this, and then that's why it became such a success.
Okay, so how quick was the turnaround when you sort of arrived at vodka? You said, okay, vodka it is, let's do this. What did you start to put together? What red tapes did you have to cross?
Yeah, I mean the red tape's quite significant for any alcohol here in the U.S. Mm-hmm. So our initial stage was, okay, we're gonna do a vodka. Let's come up with a couple different names, couple different designs, a few different ideas for what we want the product to represent, to look like, and all of those things. That was the first step, doing that. And we hired a couple guys, to help us with the designs and a few different concepts. And once we decided on the name and the logo and the label, then it was time to file the paperwork, which is the red tape, which, that takes a few months because you got to file exactly what kind of product you're going to be making, where is it going to be made. So we had to find the distiller. That was part of the process. So we settled for one down in Florida in the end. And then once you start that paperwork process, it takes a few months, and then you have the right to finally make the product. And after that is when you can really start going out selling it. Obviously you can start meeting some distributors and kind of planting some seeds, but you don't actually have a final product to sell until you've gone through that process.
Okay. And how long did it take? Was it like a year, 12 months or less?
No, it was a little faster. I would say it was probably about 6 months from.
6 months, not bad.
No, it was a pretty quick process, because we kind of knew already what Dennis represented. Like we'd known each other for a while before that.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew what he would like and what he wouldn't like. And Dennis is a pretty, he's a guy that decides pretty fast whether he likes something or not. He's pretty outspoken. So once we kind of got through a couple different alternatives, it became pretty clear, what we were going to do.
Okay. Let's look at the deal structure. What is it? Is it 50-50? What does it work?
No, it's not a 50-50 deal, but there is an equity component for Dennis, together with a royalty payment, plus payment for certain other things. I mean, if he makes a certain amount of appearances to nightclubs or bars or liquor stores, that triggers a payment, which usually doesn't come from us. It usually comes from the venue.
Okay.
But yeah, there's equity there. It's not the Ciroc type deal, where it's a 50-50. There's a little bit less than that.
We'll talk about the Ciroc deal because it was one of the things we discussed prior to this, and then so this is pretty much your gig 100%, and then Dennis has some equity and he has royalties off the back of it. Is that what it looks like?
Correct. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
All right, cool. So you're taking all the risk, really. Okay. And then Dennis.
Yeah, I took all the risk as far as the financing.
Okay. And then bringing the product to market.
I ran it myself day to day the whole time. I mean, we've had a team and a couple of different teams come and go. As with any startup, you got to find the right mix.
Yeah. What does your team look like now?
We got a couple of sales guys here in California. We got a couple of guys nationwide, and we have a few people actually internationally where, Dennis's fame in Asia is probably bigger than it is in the U.S., believe it or not.
In North Korea?
We can't really sell there. And if we did, somebody probably come through the doors behind me if I said yes. So no, we can't sell to Kim Jong and his guys. But, the Chinese love Dennis. The Japanese love him.
Absolutely. He got massive press off the back of his visits up to North Korea 2 years ago, I think. It was 2 years.
Yeah, it was about 2. It's actually 3 years ago now.
3 years ago, okay. All right, cool. Yeah, one thing I wanted to say about Dennis was his relevancy, how he's managed to keep, just alluding to what you said earlier, how he's managed to make himself relevant, how colorful a character he was when he was in the NBA and how he's maintained it. He's made the right moves to still be relevant because many people, have just been lost down the sideways really, and especially from the NBA. After the career.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he's a 90s guy, isn't he? He's
exactly.
A 90s basketballer, and he's come 2017 is still, what he is, which is interesting. Okay, let's talk about your first 1,000 bottles. Your first, few sales. How did you make your first 1,000 bottle sales? Your first sale. What did it look like?
I mean, we were fortunate in the way that. We launched this right as Dennis was starting his Korea trips. It was before he did the last one, which kind of, it caused a lot of adversity both for him and for us. No doubt the press was very hard on him, and I think sometimes, unfairly so. In some, some of the things that played out, wasn't really within Dennis's control. But we launched this before all that stuff happened. We launched it, I think, after his first or maybe second trip. Okay. When people still kind of thought, hey, this is great, this is really cool and fun. So we had him, in the press constantly for that. He was on The Apprentice, the Celebrity Apprentice with it was the last one I think that Donald Trump did. So he was on there. So he was very, very relevant at the time. So it wasn't too difficult for us to create a buzz with distributors and retailers right out the gate. So the first few sales, we didn't actually struggle to make those. And I think in the spirit sector, that's quite common. The initial sales, that's one thing. It's getting the repeat business. That's the challenge.
Yeah, as with every business, really. I mean, so is the space as snobbish as snobbish as the wine industry, where taste matters, brand matters, history, story matters, or, do vodka drinkers in a bar just want to get drunk, basically?
Well,
what's perception?
You're closer to the truth with the second statement. I mean, wine and whiskey and tequila, I mean, it's all about the flavor and how you create it and how long it's been stored. Vodka, it's more about the branding and the image, right? I mean, it's funny because, you can find people that say, hey, I'm a Grey Goose guy, I'm a Ciroc guy, I don't drink anything else. And you give them a blind taste test, and about like 20% of them will get it right. And that's the truth. I mean, our vodka is great quality. It really is. But you never, like in the vodka sector, you don't really compete on quality. I mean, look at Ciroc, what they've done in creating kind of like a premium market for themselves. It's all based off the image. I mean, it's not like, I mean, personally, I don't think their vodka tastes any better than any other ones, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit different there. So you sell more when you go to a distributor. At least here in the United States, we can't sell to the stores. We have to sell to a distributor that sells to the retailer that sells to the consumer.
Yeah, and they have to get feedback, I suppose.
It's all about basically convincing the distributor that you're worth a shot.
Right.
Then they have to sell it to the stores, even though, of course, we play a part in that in terms of marketing and all these things.
So who calls the shots from the distributor to the stores? Do the buyers at the stores make the order, or do the distributors shove it down their necks?
It's a mix. I mean, of course, if the distributor sees a product and they like it and the math is good for them, like their purchase price is good and they can make a decent margin on it, then yeah, of course they'll promote it. Mm-hmm. Most states in the U.S., I mean, they're not supposed to like favor one brand over another or whatever promotions like that. But of course they have their brands that they like. But for the most part, the buyer at the store, they'll constantly find out from the distributor what's the new product, what do you have going on. And for us as a brand owner, even though we can't sell directly, we can have our sales team. Let's say when we launched in Illinois, we had our sales team call the liquor stores and say, hey, this product is available with this distributor. Would you please buy it? And then you try to create the demand that way. So it's not illegal for us to push the product.
Yeah.
We just can't physically sell it.
Okay. What does it look like when you're selling to establishments, to pubs, bars, and hotels, to the hospitality industry? How does it work? Do you still have to go through distributors, or do you work directly with the buyers out there?
It's the same thing. It all goes through the distributor.
Okay.
So a little bit depending on who the distributor is and what the market is. Like every market's a little bit different. But if we have a specific area where we want to get into the nightclubs, we might go out there, might even bring Dennis on like a Friday night, Saturday night, and go visit a few clubs and just tell them, like, hey, if you buy some product, we're going to bring in Dennis, we'll have a nice party. Nightclubs and bars actually is a very small percentage of the business, like say 85, almost 90% of the business is in liquor stores. Just because if you go to a nightclub, unless you really have an established brand, they might buy one case of 6 bottles or, even 2 bottles or whatever they can do legally as their minimum. But you go to a liquor store and they have high hopes for you and the pricing is right, they could buy 100, 200 cases right out the gate. So it's a big difference. You need to be in the hotter nightclubs, whatever your target audience is. I mean, if I want to sell it to young 21-year-olds that make a certain amount of money and live in a certain area, I try to get into a certain club in West Hollywood or down here in Orange County or downtown LA. I mean, for us, we initially went after like the urban kind of sports market. So we did a lot of stuff in LA, even like South LA, where a lot of companies wouldn't go. Mm-hmm. Like we went there because we knew they would embrace Rodman. We went to Detroit, which is a market where a lot of people don't go there. So you gotta figure out who you want to get to, because being in the nightclub and being seen behind the bar, that helps you build some awareness, but it doesn't really drive profits of the company.
It doesn't push the needle.
Yeah, because a lot of the clubs, if you want to get in there with a big order and you want to be on the menus and everything, they'll often ask you, like, hey, are you interested in sponsoring some event or club night or what have you, right? Which does absolutely nothing for you. Put your logo on a piece of paper or something. So being in the clubs is often almost a loss-making thing, or at the very, you'll make a little bit of money, but for the effort, to go and see an account 2-3 times to sell a case of vodka and get $80. I mean, it's not great economics.
Right, makes
You really
sense.
only do that for branding.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Right. So how involved is Dennis Rodman now in the promotion? Is he every week, once a month? What does it
Yeah,
look like?
I mean, Dennis Rodman is a walking billboard. He stands out. He certainly is a guy that always draws attention to himself. I mean, I travel with Dennis, and we're in the airport, we're in the hotels, we're in the bars. We're never alone, not for 10 seconds. And I work with guys from the NHL, the NFL, the NBA. I mean, they all have a certain appeal to their fans, but not to the extent that Dennis does. So just by having him there, wearing some apparel with a company logo on, him going to bars and clubs, either drinking the product or bringing the product in, signing bottles, using his social media, all of those things. It's a constant thing that he's doing. And he's a fantastic guy to work with in that way, just because, and that's partially too because the product is such a good fit that he lives and breathes the product.
Yeah. People get excited about it in the consumer side. What about distributors? Do they get excited? Because you mentioned earlier that people were quite that initially it was very easy to sell Dennis because he was very relevant in the news. Was that kind of like a peak, or have you maintained a certain consistency? Do distributors from a business side, because they're quite business savvy people, get excited about selling and stocking Dennis the badass vodka?
Oh, well, they do with our vodka. They do. I mean, we won a couple of awards. We won a gold medal at the San Diego Spirits Awards. We won one up in Calgary in Canada. So they know that the flavor is good enough, and we have great references from stores that say, yeah, my clients love this. The taste's great. They love the price. Do they get excited in general about celebrity products? That's an interesting question, because it really depends, because a lot of them are jaded. Because when we came out, we were saying, hey, we're the first athlete endorsed vodka, and this is going to be, it's going to be great. But if you walk into any liquor store now and you look at the vodkas that are in there, and then you search, who's behind this, almost every spirits brand now tries to put like a rapper or some kind of celebrity somehow as their spokesperson. So it doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. And the distributors knows that. So we have to present them with, like, number one, the product's good enough as it is. Number two, here's how we're going to promote it, from a grassroots level up to like a bigger national level. If they don't see that, I don't think they really care who the spokesperson is.
So you treat it like a real like a real spirits business, really, and you
have to. I mean, having Dennis there is a fantastic addition, and it does open a lot of doors. It does, because it's a conversation starter. Hey, we got Dennis Rodman's badass vodka. People go, oh, okay, well, I'm a Bulls fan, I'm a Pistons fan, or what's he doing? Is he in North Korea? Good or bad, it always starts a conversation. While if I was just somebody else, they might not even answer the phone. They're like, oh, you're another vodka. Hey, good for you. It's 10,000 of you out there.
True. So true. Okay, let's talk about the landscape, the wider landscape of the market, your competitors. Ciroc, to be specific. I think 50 Cent has another one, has a...
FN Vodka?
FN Vodka, yes. Are there any other... What does the landscape look like, taking those two brands? And if you have any others, that come to mind, what does it look like, and how does it play out in the market at the moment, especially in the US?
I would say ultra competitive. It's, you got basically a couple different segments. I mean, first you have the really, really low end stuff. That will be like below $10 a bottle, which to compete there, you got to manufacture everything really cheap, and you save money wherever you can.
What is your price point?
We're $19.99. We don't really control that. I mean, that's up to the stores, but we want to be below $20. So we're anywhere from, I think the cheapest would be like a $16.99 price point up to, you go in West Hollywood, I think we're $26.99. Canada, we're close to $40 because of the taxes.
Okay.
Yeah, it basically doubles the price.
Okay.
With the taxes up there. the super. I mean, we wanted to be below $20 because we felt like there was a market for a premium product just below the $20 price point. And we found a niche there. But like you said, there's FN Vodka, there's Ciroc, Grey Goose, Belvedere, Stoli, Absolute, New Amsterdam. I mean,
And they're all endorsed by celebrities, all the brands you mentioned.
yeah, I mean, I think they all have celebrity attachments in one way or another.
Okay.
Like they may not have. I mean, I don't think anybody has what we have with Rodman, except for maybe Ciroc with P Diddy. I mean, I think they have a very tight.
What's their deal?
I mean, Ciroc was basically a failing brand that was about to, be discontinued. But they brought in P. Diddy and basically made him, initially he was like a spokesperson, but I think he had a lot of input and strategy and everything else because he's a very successful entrepreneur. And as far as I understand it, it was a 50-50 split of the profits. So, I mean, yeah, he's made a lot of money. He's made a lot of money out of that deal, but he helped revive what was basically almost a dead brand.
He's got DJ Khaled in the mix now, and there's another sort of guy, Rick Ross. He does some champagne or.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, you're right. He went into this I think Pitbull.
Belarus. That's Belarus or Belarus. It's called Belarus.
Right. Yeah, you see, like these, I can't even keep on top of all these things. I mean, there's a new one coming out all the time.
Well, okay. So, what's the price point of the other two, the Ciroc and the other premium celebrity attached, vodkas? Are they above 20?
Yeah, most of them are above 20. I mean, they can go on a special and go below, but a lot of them are like mid 20s, maybe even 30s. And then, of course, once you go into a club or whatever, that all changes. Then a bottle is, $300-400 anyway. Yeah, so then it doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah.
But, we always try to be a little bit below our competitors and also below 20. Initially, actually, we were $21.99. But I think there's it's like a psychological barrier that once you go above 20, people don't like, you'd rather be at $19.99 and just move more volume.
Yeah. I agree. Okay. So, what advice would you give to listeners looking to hook up celebrities to products they think is the perfect match? There has to be that match, as you alluded to earlier. So, what advice would you give to listeners?
Well, first of all, like you said, make sure the product is a good fit. Sometimes I think companies, they go out and they just want to get a celebrity attached to the product, even though there isn't necessarily a natural fit. And then it really isn't going to do anything for you. And then the other thing, I mean, I consult for companies that want to do kind of what I've done, because I work not just with Rodman, but with other athletes too on different aspects of their branding and trying to attract, corporate clients and whatnot. And one thing often is, the entrepreneurs don't always think, what do they really want to get out of this? I mean, are you expecting to bring in a celebrity to really build the brand for you? Or do you want him to make a couple of appearances? Do you want him to do social media? Or are you looking at like a TV commercial? Sometimes he's not really clear. I mean, people say, take Rodman, for example. People will reach out and say, would Rodman get involved with whatever? And I asked them, well, it depends, what exactly are you looking to get out of it? And second of all, you gotta try to use somebody that's experienced negotiating these things, or at least try to learn how it works, so that you don't give up too much, but you make a deal that makes sense for you and also for whatever athlete or celebrity that you're trying to bring in, because there's a number of different ways you can do that.
Okay. What would be like your box standard approach to equity and structuring a deal, a celebrity deal, a celebrity branded deal?
I mean, if we're talking about a regular entrepreneur, we're not talking like a big blue chip company trying to do something, but we're talking about a regular entrepreneur trying to set up a brand like I did with the vodka. Usually there's an equity component to it. there almost has to be to keep the celebrity involved. There will be, with that usually comes a certain right to profit. I mean, if you have 10%, equity, you get 10% of the profits for every year or whatever. Usually there's an upfront payment, like a licensing fee that could really be anything, depending on how big the celebrity is and how big of a license you're asking for. I mean, are you asking for all of the rights to all of the spirits for 10 years? Or are you looking for, hey, I want to make one tequila, one line for 2 years? That's gonna affect how much money is gonna.
What would you do? Would you do it for 10 years, or should entrepreneurs aim for much longer terms or shorter terms?
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends a little bit on what they want to get out of it, but you always, in my mind, want to have the option of tying down the person indefinitely. Because otherwise, what if you do something is really successful? Let's say for us, we only tied Dennis down for 3 years. And now 3 years down the line, when we're doing really well, if he could walk away and go and sign a deal with Bacardi and they would start a new line and I would get nothing, I mean, you don't want to put yourself in that situation. You don't.
Yeah.
So you want to try to tie them down. I mean, usually there will be an upfront payment and then an annual, for the way we structured our deal, and I have no problem disclosing that, is there's an annual payment, but there's a minimum payment every year, but that's offset against the royalties.
Is that 7 figures or 6 figures?
It is in the mid sixes.
Okay. So he gets a salary regardless of. So he mitigates his risk. He still gets paid regardless of how well you're doing sales wise. You still need to develop the profits to keep the company afloat. You still give him a profit share, and he still gets that flat out license fee.
Yeah, exactly. Like the license, he has a royalty on all of our sales.
Okay.
And if that doesn't amount to a certain amount of dollars at the end of the year, we have to top it up as a company to make a certain amount of money for the athlete.
Okay.
But so far that hasn't happened, and not every deal works that way, but often there's, for an ongoing use of their license, which is essentially what you're doing, you're licensing their name. Usually it would be annual payments in form of royalties or just a licensing fee, depending on how you set it up.
Got it. What do you think is the long game? Because I always like to, I like to look 5, 6, 7 steps ahead. So if one is to go into this, into getting, celebrities to endorse products or, to be the face of a product, what is the long game? Besides making profit every other year, or getting a license for 10 years or have you, well, what is the long game?
Well, one thing I could say that I've seen both of myself when I started out way back dealing with athletes and what I see in new entrepreneurs now that I help put together deals for, it will increase your profile a little bit as a businessman. I mean, if you work with an A-lister, like a household name, you immediately get that little bit more credibility. And you'll be able to maybe get invited or be able to take part in things that maybe normally you wouldn't be. And that will open doors to anything from, new business opportunities to funding contacts to, anything you want.
Interesting.
There's an element of that to the celebrity game that, like me personally, I'm not attracted by it, but I know some guys that partially are in the game just so they can, go to certain nightclubs and get in and, get, certain treatment like that. For me, that's not an appeal. And we've been fortunate enough to have had these kind of people in our lives since I started out. So it's not something that attracts me anymore. But it will open a lot more doors and you'll get a lot more opportunities and connections than you probably can do if you go it on your own.
That makes a lot of sense, like massive sense. That social capital.
For you and I right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you probably wouldn't have wanted to do this interview if I didn't have something, right? I mean, you probably saw Rod, and I've done NBC, ABC, Fox. I mean, we've done all the major U.S. media, and they weren't there for me, I mean, after a while, you build your own profile when they can see that you have success. And, we have a very successful real estate business that has got some media on its own.
Yeah.
But anything like that, media and PR and stuff, it just helps to have a celebrity attached to what you're doing.
You become associated with success,
Exactly.
which is important. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. It's a fantastic conversation we've had so far. Okay, so we need to wrap up. It's been great, as I said, and we're going to get into the 5-question lightning round, where I ask you a question and you answer with a single sentence, if possible. Ready when you are.
Let's go.
Okay. What are your future plans?
We got a great clothing brand coming out with some of the top names that are out there right now.
I'm going to be on the lookout.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Fantastic. Okay. How do you hire people?
Gut feeling.
Gut feeling. Okay. All right. Good. What are your 3 indispensable tools for managing your business?
Manage time, manage costs, and manage your people.
Fantastic. Okay. What's been your best mistake to date? By that I mean a setback that's giving you the biggest feedback.
Not making it through high school and deciding not to go back.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, right. That's great.
That's great. That's great. If you could choose, and getting into real estate after, if you could choose a single book or resource that's changed or made the highest impact in the way you view building your business and growth, what would it be? A book or a resource?
Wow. Now you actually caught me a little off guard. I am not a big reader. I like to read leadership books.
Mm-hmm.
One I read recently was The Shoe King by Phil Knight, the founder of Nike.
Nike. Yeah.
Yeah, it has a couple of good parts in there, where he gets involved with celebrities and kind of what it did for him. It doesn't tell the full story, but that one is pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, and it's quite relevant to what you do.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. All right, Andreas. It's been a fantastic, last 14 minutes, 35 for 14 minutes. Just one last question. If our guest wanted to get in touch with you to help them out, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, they can go. My website is andreasbjohansson.com. That's my personal site.
Okay.
My contact details are on there.
Okay.
LinkedIn too, by all means. If you could put a link up or something there, and
definitely, we'll do. Fantastic. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and I'm very sure we're going to get lots of feedback and questions coming through. All the very best, and hopefully this will not be the last time I'll catch up with you.
I hope I get to come back on again. Thank you very much.
Okay, fantastic. See you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.